Today, we're gonna make these stunning plant stands, and it's way easier than it looks. And this video is brought to us by Delete Me. I'm not saying I invented this technique, but I did discover it on my own. The first time I experimented with it was when I made these speaker stands earlier this year, and it worked out so well that I knew I'd want to try it again. The overall design is fairly simple, but the shape would normally be very hard to produce with ordinary woodworking tools. This started out as an Adobe Illustrator drawing, and here we are looking at it from the top down. And just to see how it would look as 3D, I imported that drawing into Fusion 360 and extruded it. The first thing I need to do is create a router template from the Illustrator file. This is some leftover import birch from the tool bench video. Import birch is much less expensive than Baltic birch, but it has its issues as we discussed in that video. I still haven't decided if the cost savings is worth it. Also, many of you pointed out that all birch plywood is imported. All I can say is I don't name this stuff. With the router template, I try to cut as close to the line as I can and then sand down to the final shape. The inside of the template can't be cut at the bandsaw, so I drilled a hole and used a jigsaw. Notice how I'm cutting on the pink foam insulation to not cut into my bench. That foam insulation board is going to play a big part in this project. Now I'll use that template to trace out the same shape on another piece of plywood. This time I can go a little quicker as I don't need to cut so close to the line. And again with the inside circle. I'll attach my router template to my rough cut piece, and using a flush trim bit, I'll ride along that template and it'll create a perfect copy. This is stupid messy, and I need to work on my router table dust collection. The trick to this project is working in layers and building upon them. If I made the whole thing out of plywood layers, it would be crazy heavy. So in between the layers of plywood, I'm going to use that pink foam insulation board. This stuff cuts so easy with woodworking tools. I'm using 1.5 inch thick insulation. It comes in thicker boards, but I don't have a router bit long enough to cut it. It cuts so fast on the bandsaw, and just like the plywood piece before, it gets templated on the router table. I'm making 2 plant stands, and in total I need 20 pieces of pink foam cutouts and 20 pieces of plywood cutouts. I would keep doing this over and over at the router, but since I don't have good dust collection set up, I'm going to use my CNC. This is the perfect job for a robot. Also, only the top few pieces need the inner circle cut out to hold the plant pot. The bottom 2/3 is solid, and it'll make it much more bottom heavy. I have Shop Elvis watching over my robot machines to make sure they don't update themselves with AI and join the robot militia. I'm not sure how much time we humans have left. Gluing this foam is a little tricky. Regular wood glue doesn't work well and takes days to dry. Contact cement and spray adhesive eat at the foam, and I assume causes toxic fumes. This stuff from Loctite is made just for it, and it also bonds to wood. And it's available at my local home center. It takes about 30 minutes to set up. My plan was to glue up the entire structure all at once, but the layers got too slippery, so I ended up doing it in sections. The topmost layer will be seen, so I'm making that out of solid walnut. I suppose I could just glue a couple boards together and cut the shape out, but since I'm a woodworker and woodworkers love overkill, I'm going to make it in 9 segments. Before I show you how I'm going to finish up these plant stands, I'd like to take a moment to tell you about today's sponsor, Delete Me. A couple of months ago, I told you the story of how my grandpa Pachuto almost got scammed by someone impersonating me. That scammer had enough of my personal details to make their story seem believable. Details they likely got from online data brokers. It was a close call, but it really drove home how important privacy is. Now, after 20 months of using Delete Me, I'm excited to share how much of my personal data they've removed. Let me show you what my Delete Me dashboard looks like today. Over this time, they've removed my information from hundreds of different listings, details I never wanted out there for scammers to exploit. Take a look at my most recent privacy report. It's super easy to follow and even shows how much time Delete Me has saved me by doing this work for me. Without them, I'd be spending hours tracking down all this information and trying to remove it myself. Delete Me's team of privacy experts monitors hundreds of sites, constantly working to keep your information off the web. And they don't stop. When listings pop back up, they're on it. Their ongoing efforts means my personal data stays protected. If you're ready to protect your own privacy, Delete Me is offering 20% off their privacy plans for my viewers. Just scan the QR code here on screen or visit joindeleteme.com/makesomething and use my code DAVID at checkout. That's DAVID. They even have family plans to protect everybody in your household. Take control of your online privacy with Delete Me. Trust me, it's worth it. Okay, let's finish up these plant stands. The secret to this is using this paper-backed walnut veneer. It goes wildly up in price throughout the year. I always pick it up when it's at the lower price and just keep some on hand. When you get it out of the box, it just wants to stay in the curled position and is really hard to work with. I highly suggest just squirting it down with water on both sides and then letting it dry for a couple of hours, and it'll dry nice and flat. Makes it a lot easier to work with. I wanted to use contact cement for this and it would have been perfect, but it doesn't work because it melts the styrofoam. The reason it would have been perfect is because you coat both pieces and then let it dry. And then once those pieces touch, they are instantly attached and bonded. But because it melts the foam, no good. And then I thought, well, I can do the same thing with spray adhesive, and it does the same thing. It melts the foam. Super 77 used to work, but the new formula that's a little bit more environmentally friendly melts the foam. So what I'm going to do is double-sided tape. I tried a few different double-sided tape, and this one seems to work best. It is super crazy sticky. So I'm going to use the tape for that instant bond, and then I'm also going to use the foam glue in between pieces of the tape for that nice strong bond. And so here we go. This is an experiment. I live by rule 4. Consider everything an experiment. Okay. I'm telling you, this tape is stronger than what you think it is. Okay, we'll go down a little bit more. All right, so far so good. I had to tape two pieces together to make this longer. Ooh, I wanted that to come up a little short, and it actually overlaps a little bit. I wanted it to come up short because I was just going to put a piece of wood there to cover up that seam. Ha ha, that worked. That worked. Look at that. I think I'm going to have to put in some CA glue in there where I had to seam the two pieces together to get that to go. But that worked. These came out so good. They're not perfect, but they're pretty close. This was an experiment. I didn't know if it was gonna work. I mean, I've done it before with the speaker stands, but that was a little bit more simple. It was just going around one continuous shape where we had all these little gullies to go around. There's a couple of dead spots where it's not pressed up against the skeleton all the way. I think where I went wrong was my woodworker brain says use glue, but I shouldn't have used any glue and just more tape all the way around, and it would have been a little bit more solid. The plants that I got for them, they're made to grow over there, so the plant will become part of the plant stand, and I think that's going to be really cool. I will have links to everything that I use down below. I did have to put a piece of wood on the seam in the back here. It won't be seen if the seam won't be seen if it is faced towards the back. And actually it doesn't look too bad anyway, but the plant is going to grow over. It's going to cover up the top. And yeah, I am super happy. That was an experiment that worked. This is a cheat code on how to get complex shapes with just basic, ordinary woodworking tools. Wally is trying to get in the video with me. What's up, buddy? He's like, what you doing? It's Wally time. It's not time to shoot a video. Thank you to Delete Me for sponsoring this video. That's gonna wrap it up. I do have a video on making this wine rack. It's disguised as a tool video, so you won't see it in the thumbnail. I'll link to that right here. Also, don't store your wine by a light source. That is gonna wrap it up. As always, be safe. Oh, wait, the inside. I didn't coat anything with the inside. I think I'm gonna mix up some black epoxy and paint the inside. That way, if it gets wet, it'll be totally cool. It's the holiday season. I just ran out of time. I wanna go spend time with my friends and family. You should too. As always, be safe, have fun, stay passionate, and make something. Right, buds? It's Wally time. All right.